He used to say that I overthought everything. That was his favorite line, tucked between sighs and small laughs, as if my intuition were just an inconvenience he had to live with. His name was Evan Mercer. We met the way most modern tragedies begin, through an app. But back then, it felt like fate disguised as code. He was quick-witted, charming in that self-deprecating way that feels safe at first, and somehow his voice, steady and warm, made me believe in second chances. For a year and a half, I built a life around him, his coffee order, his playlists, the way he liked his shirts folded, the exact sound of his key turning the lock on Friday nights. We shared a downtown apartment with creaky floors and a balcony too small for comfort, but big enough for 2 wine glasses and a view of city lights. And then, like all stories that start with illusions, I started noticing the edits in his reality. Late-night messages with his phone tilted away, showers right after he got home, long ones, that sudden new cologne, a scent too bold to be for me. But the breaking point wasn't dramatic. It was casual, almost cinematic in its cruelty. We were watching a show on the couch when his phone buzzed with a notification. The name on the screen, Luna, flickered for just a second before he flipped it face down. I didn't say anything. I smiled, took another sip of wine, and stored the moment quietly in my mental filing cabinet, the one labeled Things That Don't Add Up, Yet. A week later, I found him asleep on the couch, his phone unlocked on the coffee table, still glowing from a half-written message. That's when I saw it. A notification banner from Rendezvous, a dating app I'd never heard of before. For a second, I actually thought it was spam. My brain refused to process the simplicity of the betrayal. But curiosity is a dangerous reflex, and I opened it. His profile appeared instantly. Name, Evan M. Bio, looking for someone who gets me. No drama, just connection. Photos, a few I'd taken myself. Cropped, repurposed, stolen. He had even used the picture from our trip to Big Bear last fall, the one where I'd told him to turn around because the sunlight caught his hair perfectly. He'd cropped me out. I remember the silence of that moment more than anything else. The world didn't shatter, it simply stilled, like every sound in the room was holding its breath, waiting to see what I'd do next. I didn't cry, not yet. Instead, I felt something colder, precision. He'd always said I overthought, so I decided to make my overthinking useful. The next day, I downloaded Rendezvous. I used a different name, Clara. I gave her dark hair, a confident smile, and just enough mystery to catch attention. Within 20 minutes, Evan's profile appeared in my queue. I hesitated. Then I swiped right. It was a match. My stomach twisted, half revulsion, half adrenaline. He messaged me within an hour. Evan, well, Clara, you've got my attention. You from around here? The irony made me laugh, quietly, bitterly. Over the next few days, I played the role. I became the kind of woman he thought he wanted, witty but deferential, flirty but never clingy. The version of me he'd tried to sculpt and then resented. Every message was a mirror, reflecting his shallowness back at him. Evan, you sound familiar somehow. Me, maybe we've crossed paths before? Evan, I'd remember if we had. He didn't. That was the best part. He couldn't see me, not really. He never had. After a week of messages, he asked to meet. Drinks, he suggested, somewhere low-key. I picked the place. A dimly lit wine bar near the waterfront, intimate, quiet, just enough atmosphere to make him think it was his idea. That Friday, I stood in front of my mirror longer than usual. I didn't want to look like Clara. I wanted to look like the version of myself he took for granted. Red lipstick, the dress he once said made me look too confident, hair swept up just enough to expose the line of my neck. When I arrived, he was already there, scrolling through his phone, unaware. I watched him from across the room for a moment. The man I'd once loved, sitting under soft lighting, waiting for a stranger who was me. It was almost poetic. I walked toward him. He looked up as I approached, ready to charm. And then his face froze. Morgan? I smiled, slow and deliberate, and slid into the seat across from him. Hi, Evan. Surprised? His jaw tightened. What is this? I lifted the menu casually. You tell me. I thought you were here to meet Clara. He went pale. You made a fake account? Oh, I learned from the best. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The waiter came by. I ordered a glass of wine. Evan didn't. He leaned forward. Morgan, this is insane. Is it? I asked softly. You made a profile while we were together. You used photos I took. You told strangers you wanted no drama. That's what's insane. He looked around nervously. Keep your voice down. Why? I said. Someone might recognize you? He muttered. You're blowing this out of proportion. That was the moment, the exact one, when something in me clicked into place. The calm before a storm that doesn't need thunder to destroy. I stood. You're right, I said. I should go. He looked relieved. Too soon. I pulled a small envelope from my purse and placed it on the table. Before I leave, you might want to check your inbox tonight. He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled. Just something that'll remind you to be careful where you lie. And then I walked out, leaving the wine untouched. By the time he checked his phone that night, every mutual friend we had already seen screenshots. His messages to Clara, the ones dripping with irony and deceit. I didn't post them publicly. I didn't need to. I just sent them quietly, privately, to the people who mattered. The ones who once told me, Evan seems so loyal. Within hours, his pristine reputation cracked. But revenge, I realized, isn't satisfying when it's just punishment. It's most powerful when it teaches. So I stopped there. I didn't block him. I didn't gloat. I went silent. A few days later, he showed up at my apartment. I opened the door halfway. He looked tired, unshaven, eyes hollow. Morgan, please, can we talk? You had your chance, I said. I screwed up, okay? It was stupid. I just wanted to see if I... Still what? I asked. Could cheat? Could lie better this time? He rubbed his face. You're being cruel. I laughed. You think this is cruelty? No, Evan, this is clarity. He exhaled shakily. I miss you. Then maybe you should have been loyal to the person you claim to miss. He stared at me, searching for something, maybe a flicker of softness, but I'd buried that softness somewhere he'd never find it again. When I closed the door, I didn't cry. I didn't even look back through the peephole. The weeks that followed were strangely quiet. My phone stopped lighting up with his name. The space he'd once filled became my own again. Mornings with sunlight instead of suspicion, evenings with peace instead of guessing games. But healing isn't linear. Some nights I still scrolled through old photos, half hoping I'd misread it all, that maybe he hadn't meant to betray me, that maybe I'd find a version of him who deserved the love I gave. Then I'd remember that picture on his profile, the one where he'd cropped me out, and the illusion would dissolve again. Months passed. I deleted the fake account, moved to a new apartment with a friend, Jenna, who never made me question her loyalty. Life shifted back into color. Then, one random evening, while waiting in line for coffee, I saw him again. Evan. He looked smaller somehow, not physically, but in spirit. He spotted me, hesitated, then approached. Morgan. Evan. He smiled nervously. You look good. So do you, I said politely. It wasn't true. He rubbed the back of his neck. Listen, I wanted to say sorry. For real this time. I nodded. Okay. He blinked. That's it? That's it. He laughed awkwardly. You're not gonna yell? Throw a drink? Something? No, I said, stepping closer. Because the best revenge isn't anger, Evan. It's indifference. He flinched, just barely. I smiled, paid for my coffee, and walked away, leaving him standing there, holding his apology like it might still matter. 6 months later, I deleted every picture of us. I didn't need to see what pretending looked like anymore. And when people asked me if I'd ever forgiven him, I'd say yes, because forgiveness doesn't mean you forget. It means you've decided that they no longer have the power to define your pain. Evan Mercer was a lesson, not a loss. And the night I left that wine untouched, I didn't just walk away from him. I walked toward myself.
You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.